We'll start right now. We have a hard stop for 3 o'clock. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to our audience. Today's session is going to be about some very beautiful women telling us about their winning strategies and how they've transitioned in their career, and basically just, enlightening the rest of us about how we can win in business. Today's session is titled Accelerate Action, Winning Strategies for Women. Without further ado, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Aderonke Alex-Adedipe. I am the managing partner of Pavestones. Pavestones is a female-led legal practice, and we do have a special interest in technology and foreign investments. Pavestones in particular is very interested in helping other women to succeed. And so for that reason, we decided to invite these beautiful ladies to talk to us all about how, they have started out in their career and how the rest of us can perhaps also succeed in our various businesses. Very quickly, I will be introducing our speakers, and then we will delve into today's session. Just give me a moment, please. I'm going to start by introducing Ireayo. Ireayo Oladunjoye is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Endeavor Nigeria, an organization that supports high-impact entrepreneurs to catalyze long-term economic growth. Prior to this, Ireayo served as the head of startups at Lagos Innovates, a program under the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, where she developed and implemented government-led initiatives to create an enabling environment for tech startups and innovation-driven enterprise in Lagos. Ireayo holds an engineering degree from City University London and completed the Women's Leadership Program at Oxford University's Sade Business School. Her career includes experience in both the private and public sectors, with roles, Her career includes experience in both the private and public sector, with roles at organizations such as Parthian Partners, Cornerstone Insurance, InterSwitch, Secure ID, Barclays, amongst others. In her current position at Endeavor Nigeria, Ireayo leverages her extensive experience to support entrepreneurs in scaling their businesses, thereby contributing to economic development and job creation in Nigeria. Welcome again, Ireayo. Next is Sade Dada. Sade is an attorney by training, my learned colleague, and represents Meta as head of public policy, Anglophone West Africa, and connectivity and innovation policy manager, Africa. Sade collaborates with stakeholders from the government, civil societies, academia, and industry to find solutions to complex internet policy issues facing African countries. She also works with various teams within and outside Meta to ensure that internet connectivity initiatives and innovative product solutions such as AI and the metaverse are executed successfully. Sade is passionate about bringing high-speed connectivity to communities and enabling tech ecosystems in Africa so that individuals can access the internet and technology. Sade was recognized as one of the 50 most valuable people in Nigeria's digital economy and named an inspiring 50 woman. Prior to Meta, Sade tackled significant broadband deployment issues through her work at the Wireless Infrastructure Association, U.S. Federal Communications Commission, and Microsoft. Sade earned her bachelor's in journalism from Georgia Southern University, her master's in Telecommunications from Indiana University and her Juris Doctorate from Indiana University Murrow School of Law. Welcome again, Sade. Now, to Seun. Seun Timi-Koleolu is my business partner, and she's a founding partner at Pavestones Legal, a female-led modern full-service corporate and commercial law firm practice situated in Lagos, Nigeria. Seun is a multi-award winning lawyer. She was awarded Women Leader in Law at the 2024 African Legal Awards in South Africa and Partner of the Year at the 2021 African Legal Awards. She has been recognized as a 2024 and 2025 Chambers and Partners top-ranked leading lawyer in fintech and has also been recognized in the Business Day Special Report on Exemplary Women. Seun currently serves as the co-chair of the Technology Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law, a predominantly male-led committee. Beyond her competence as a lawyer, Seun is passionate about helping marriages and families thrive, and she currently leads the Family Life Ministry of the Elevation Church, also known as Tech-Ikoyi. Seun holds a Bachelor of Laws from the University of Warwick and Masters of Laws from University College London. Seun, thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
Funto Ibuoye. Funto is the CEO of 528, a renowned global firm specializing in design, architecture, and property development. She leads a passionate team dedicated to creating transformative spaces for people to live and work. Funto is an alumni of Covenant University, where she graduated with a second-class upper degree in accounting in 2010. Shortly thereafter, she attained her Chartered Accountant certification in 2011. Initially employed as an accountant in the tech industry, Funto embarked on a new adventure, transitioning to brand and management at the multinational beauty company, L'Oreal. Driven by her entrepreneurial spirit, Funto subsequently founded her own organization, 528. In 2017, she was honored as one of the most inspiring women in Nigeria by Y Naija and Leading Ladies Africa. In 2020, Mogulet Africa celebrated her inclusion among the 100 most inspiring moguls. The Richer Women Inc. further acknowledged her impact, naming her one of the most 100 impactful women in 2022. Beyond her role at 528, Funto is the visionary force behind Recalibrate Academy. As an accomplished author, Funto has penned 6 impactful books, including notable titles such as Recalibrate and Small Girl, Big God. So I see that many of these women here today we're mothers, we're married, and we are all very well accomplished. And so I would like for each and every one of us to just, gist us, basically. Tell us in your own words how you have been able to accomplish many of these great feats. And so that we don't waste too much time, I know we're already 15 minutes into the session. I will start with Sade. Sade, again, my learned colleague. Having commenced your professional career as a lawyer and then moving on to becoming a policy expert in tech, working with government agencies, civil societies, and basically driving initiatives to improve the tech ecosystem. Can you tell us what inspired this transition from core law to policy and innovation in the tech ecosystem? And can you explain to us to what extent your legal background has been helpful in this transition?
Thank you. Thank you once again for having me. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be amongst so many powerful, intelligent women. For me, my choice to go from core legal, as you say, to public policy really stems from the fact that I wanted to have as big of an impact as I could in the space that I was working in. So I'd always been focused on communications in some way or another, even before law, doing journalism, and then branching into broadband work. Um, I realized very quickly that the type of impact that I wanted to have related to the tech and telecom industry would be more possible from a policy angle than it would from working within a law firm or corporations that are specifically focused on the legalities of their business or their or representing clients in that space. And so I just kind of looked into what are some of the organizations or government that I could work in that would give me an opportunity to have that kind of impact with expanding broadband. That's what it was at the time. And I quickly realized that the way you do that effectively, at least then, was to work on policies that will enable businesses to thrive, that will be directly in charge of setting up the types of structures that are necessary to enable connectivity. And it wasn't too much of a difference. The legal training that I had uh, involved a lot of research and writing, which is what you need when you're doing policy making. You need a lot of skill sets that enable you to also be able to think analytically, which is part of legal training, legal work that you have to do. You need very strong negotiation skills to be able to deal with the different stakeholders that influence regulations and legislation. So I think the background that I had as a lawyer and the skills that I developed by being a lawyer have really worked well to my advantage to be effective in the policymaking arena. It hasn't been too much of a deep change, I suppose, and it's been very fruitful. And we meet quite a number of people who work in policy who have legal backgrounds.
Okay, thank you very much, Sade. I feel like, okay, so from the summary of what you said is you were more interested in impact than just profession. And I feel like one way or the other, you've impacted my life by ensuring that I have broadband connectivity. And so, yes, I'll say well done.
Thank you.
But you know, I see you, even outside of this forum, I see you everywhere. I see that you're doing a lot with Meta. I see that obviously, even beyond what we all know and beyond what we see, either on your LinkedIn profile or in social media or whatever, there's a lot that you're doing. But I kind of remember a conversation where, and I think Seun was also present, where you had said to us, oh, you had a hard stop because you needed to go and pick your kids from school and you never miss school days. And for me, I remember asking you the question, how do you do that? What happens when you travel? What happens when you have a meeting? How do you make sure that whatever happens, you're not missing school days? Can you just tell us in brief how you make it work?
Yeah, so I don't miss school days when I'm in town. That's the
Okay.
caveat. So when I travel, I do sometimes have to travel during school days. But the way I make it work is that I literally schedule around it. So I block my calendar. Everyone that has access to putting meetings on my calendar can see it very clearly. And I don't put it as like private. I want them to see what it says school pickup and I have that drop off too, and it's blocked on my calendar. No one can schedule meetings for that time. If it's a government agency I need to meet with, sometimes you have to be on their time, but I tend to offer meetings that don't conflict with that. And if it's going to conflict, then maybe I'll pick up my kids earlier, or maybe I'll have to ask my husband to do that. So we just kind of work together between him and I to figure out, who's gonna pick up. I'm usually the one, because I insist on being the one to pick them up and drop them off, because I know that that's some time that I get to spend and talk to them and know what's going on at school and talk to their teachers. And I don't like missing it because I have to work a lot. When I get home, sometimes I do have to get back on the computer and get some things done. So that time is very sacred to me. And I think when you prioritize it, when you already have it in your mind that this is important to you, it helps other people know that that's like who you are and that's a priority for you as well.
Thank you very much for that insight, Sade, because I feel like a lot of us struggle with the idea of running a business, having to tell clients, oh, we have to pick up our kids from school as an excuse for not being able to make meetings. So I think, quite frankly, even for somebody like me, and I remember saying to you the other day that I think that's a very tall order, because it's school days for someone like me is almost impossible. But I guess at the end of the day, the bottom line is we're all human. And if we have kids, we have kids. Our kids, our family, our obligation. And it's the way that we prioritize them is also a reflection of how we work and how we prioritize even our clients' work. So thank you very much for that insight. I have taken away a few pointers from there. So I am going to go over to you, Funto. Funto, you graduated at a very young age, and I see that you became a chartered accountant at the age of 21. You've written a number of books, about 6. You've worked for several organizations. And in between all of that, you've gotten married, you have kids, you established your own organization called 528. All of these you accomplished before the age of 30. Can you tell us how you managed to achieve all of these accomplishments? And I in such a short time. And I also imagine that, in achieving these feats, you've experienced a number of challenges. Would you like to share with us, how you've managed to overcome some of these challenges, please? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Aderonke, and thank you to Pavestones for having me here this afternoon. Okay, so achieving all of the things that I achieved before 30, first I would say, really, one, it was really God's grace, and 2, I was even though I wasn't exactly clear on what exactly I wanted to do eventually, but I was very fearless in pursuing the things that came to my heart. So I remember that back when I was in school, one of my biggest ambitions then, as someone was reading and studying to become an accountant, was to become the first female president of ICANN. And up to now, ICANN doesn't president. And I was really going after it and all of that until my final year. Tara Jotoye came to school to speak at a conference, and all of a sudden, all I wanted to become was a makeup artist. And guess what? I did pursue a career in makeup artistry. I became a makeup artist. I did 2 brides. I did makeup for a TV station, for their hosts for different shows. And, it was just, for me, it was just the way that I fearlessly went about the things that I knew in my heart that this was what I wanted to do. I remember when my first role as an accountant in a tech company, I was literally the financial accountant, because as at then I'd done my ICANN, I had a car and a driver to my role. I was earning 6 figures. This was in 2012. But after about 2 years of working on that role, I literally got bored. I remember getting to the office one Monday morning, and I just said, I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do next, But I knew that I didn't want to continue on this. I just knew that there had to be more to my life than just, coming to this office, accounting for millions of naira that I'm not exactly seeing in my account, But I just knew that there had to be something more. And I remember eventually I had to have a meeting with my boss then. And he kept asking me, why are you going? Where are you going? What company is trying to poach you? And I told him honestly that nobody's trying to poach me. I had no idea where I was going. But I just knew that it felt like my spirit had left the job. And I knew that if I continued on that role, I wouldn't be giving my best anymore. I have a personal policy to always give my 101% thing that I do. Eventually, he allowed me to, resign off. And this was me resigning. That means no more car, no more driver, no nothing. And I remember that I literally had to lie to my mom that I was taking a 2 weeks leave because it didn't make sense. This was back 2012, 2013. You have a job, you have a car and a driver, you're earning 6 figures, you don't want to resign, like they must be chasing you from your father's house. That kind of thing. But I remember that during my fake 2 weeks leave break, I got a message from someone on LinkedIn that I had met at an event. And she said that she recommended me for this role to be the PA to the CEO of an interior design company. And honestly, as at that time, I'd never heard of anything called interior design. I didn't even know that was something. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know it was a career, right? So I remember going on Google, just researching on interior design, researching on the company and the CEO. Right. And I went for the interview, and that was how I got the role. And that was my very first experience in interior design. Right. And that is literally what I've built my business on for the past 8 years. So this was me from moving from the role where I had a car and a driver, I was living large, and I had to become. And back then, I always tell my assistants now that when I was a PA, it was just a glorified name for house help, because I was doing everything I would resume at my CEO's office. Then, I was living in Magodo with my parents. I'll have to leave the house very early to resume at her house by 7. She stayed in Ikoyi, then resume at her house. Then we'll go from her house to the office by 9, do all the work we need to do by 6. I go back with her to her house and close from her house before I start going. And then there was no car driver, so I'll be jumping bus, entering BLT. First of all, I went to Covenant University, then I got this role with the car driver. Then now I'm having to enter bus and jump, BLT. So it was like best of both worlds. But I think what really kept me was knowing that, well, just that grit, that resilience, and God's grace, really, and just really fearlessly going after the things that I believed were. I think that, I'll just wrap up by saying this. I think that one of the major things that hold a lot of women back is that fear of the unknown, right? They are not sure what is ahead of them. And so they'll rather stay stuck in the comfort of the current situation that they are in. And it just keeps a lot of women, held back in not living the fullness of life that is ahead of them. Thank you. I hope that answers. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Funto, and well done. What I hear is grit, grace, and resolve. Maybe, just maybe one day you will help me build my dream home in Banana Island. Okay, so I would move over to Ireayo very quickly. Ireayo, you studied engineering in university, and so you are obviously a qualified engineer. But I see that you have a lot of interest in managing companies. You've worked with a portfolio of companies, and then you moved on to leading startup initiatives at LSCTF. And now you're the managing director of Endeavor. Can you tell us the key strategies, right, that have propelled you in your career progression?
Okay, thank you so much. It's so amazing to be in the room with amazing women doing great things. I mean, when Sade was talking, a lot of things resonated with me, same as Funto. But so if I talk about my journey, it's similar to Funto, where I'm in Nigeria. My mom sent me away, so I had to come back with a serious degree. So it had to be either a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And I knew that I could never be a lawyer, even though I love reading. It wasn't for me. Doctor, no, thank you. So it had to be engineering, and you guys is like, anyway, let's not go there. That's a story for another day. But I knew that engineering was like basic. It was maths, like it starts on maths, and I love math. Like I was doing A-level maths at 11. Um, but I'll say with my journey is it was literally like you do things that are your foundation of like your parents send you to school, so you have to get education. But everything sits on the education, but it doesn't necessarily like I'm not an engineer today. I'm not doing anything with engineering. But what it did for me was it gave me technical problem solving skills. So you build on that and then you can like Funto said, an opportunity arises and you take it. I think like with fear, what you mentioned, definitely fear is a big thing for women, but I don't think I experienced that until I started having children. So I was doing whatever, like I moved, not having a job. I quit a good job in England, didn't know what I was going to do when I came to Nigeria, came for 3 months, went back, came again. And my auntie's like, are you okay? Like, what are you going to go and do there? And I was like, I don't know, like, but my savings is going down, so we need to find something. I hadn't done my NYC at the time. And then I got the opportunity to be a chief of staff. And that was a beautiful experience because it gave me that, it gave me access to what Nigeria was. I left Nigeria when I was 10. So I didn't really know. I came back for summer, but summer you're just enjoying yourself and you're going back. But I came back and I was working for an individual that happened to be a chairman of like about 30 companies. So I got the insights on all these different companies. And even when I went back to England, I was like, so what the impact you can make here, which speaks to what Sade said, is like, I'll say I'm following impact. So whatever would be impactful, I would morph into it to make sure I can do it if I felt the needing to do it. So I'll say strategies like leverage on your skills. Like your skills can be cross-functional. Like you can do it. You can do this as a lawyer, but then you can carry it over and be like doing another organization or a different sector. Work on projects. And I think when you're diligent in what you do, it opens doors for you. Like the Bible says, you're diligent in what you do, doors will be open. And every opportunity that came, I love Richard Branson. He always say yes, like say yes and learn on the job. So I literally would say yes to anything, no matter how scared I was. I mean, even when this job, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. But here I am doing it. So it's like to encourage women to take the chance, take a bet on yourself, because we take bets for other people, but we don't necessarily sit down and take a bet for ourselves. So I see one of the things that I've done is I take a bet on myself and everybody I work with. And there's a difference, like, okay, as a chief of staff, I'm bridging the gap between execution, operation, and strategy. So it's like, make sure you go into the rooms that are open for you and open your eyes, shine your eyes, build relationships with people so you can learn from them as well. And great, like, I think relationships are everything. So I was good with making relationships. And I always think, offer help before you ask, right? Give before you ask. So I'm always willing to, the first thing anybody I meet is like, okay, so how can I make your life better? How can I be of value to you? Because by being of value to you, I'm bettering my skills, my knowledge, my understanding and experience. And then that could be carried on to another opportunity. And then take ownership. Like, you cannot grow if you don't take ownership of what you're doing, ownership of yourself, type management of people around you, of projects you're working on. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Ireayo. And yes, I am a firm believer in leveraging relationships and giving first before asking. And also, I note the points that you make about taking ownership, right? So delving into the arena and taking ownership of your work has helped you to achieve all of this success. And well done with everything you're doing at Endeavor. Well done. To my business partner, Seun. Seun, so you've worked with one of the biggest law firms in Lagos. From there, you moved to one of the biggest telcos in Nigeria. And this is one thing that I don't see a lot of lawyers do. Once they've gone in-house, they're not interested in going back to practice, traditional practice. But can you tell us what exactly inspired you to establish Pavestones? And as a female-led law practice, can you share with our audience today what your experience has been since establishing Pavestones?
Okay, thanks, my business partner, fellow Ronki. So what inspired me to start Pavestones? I always knew that I had it in me to build something. And yes, I started my career in a law firm, And when I picked that law firm, I literally looked for what I thought was the best in Nigeria. I did my research, and as a go-getter, I pushed and pushed and made sure I got there. In spite, regardless of what the odds were, I ensured that I was there. And I put my best into the work. I was diligent and all that. I moved from there to the telco, and I pushed also. I built my capacity, the quality of my skill set in both in the law firm and in-house. Whilst I was in-house, I got to see, since I was sitting as a client to law firms, I felt certain things. I didn't like the way some of the law firms were providing the service. I felt they were not accessible enough. I felt they were not dealing with the issues. So I got to sit in-house as a client and feel the pain points. And then at some point, and then I was promoted in-house, and I led a team there. And at some point, I had that itch to leave. I knew I wanted to build something, and I decided it was time. I did it prayerfully, and I decided it was time to start something of my own. I put the structures in place. I also went looking for a partner, and you and I started Pavestones. Now, to make that bold move, it was also important that I saved enough money to build a law firm. It was important that the structures were in place. I also sought counsel. One thing I did was I didn't just leave everything abruptly and leave the organization. I sought counsel. I spoke to people, my former boss at the law firm. I spoke to my pastor. I spoke to people and told them what was on my heart to do. And I spoke to my husband, and they encouraged me and guided me. And here I am. Now, Pavestones is in fact, the thought of starting a law firm, the one thing that made me feel nervous about it was thinking that I couldn't do it the way I knew it to be, what I left. And what made me nervous was because I thought I had to be like the man, like the other law firms. But when I realized that I could do it my way, and the issues I'd seen in other companies, as an in-house lawyer, I could solve it with this tool in my hand. And so Pavestones has been established to make a difference, to solve problems that a lot of clients have had with law firms. We freely disseminate information, we are friendly, we use technology. And ever since we started Pavestones, it's as if people had been waiting for what we've had. We had so many clients, both locally and internationally, who are excited by what we're doing. And we've won many awards because of what we're doing. So my advice is, obviously, for anyone who's trying to transition, look at the problem and try to solve the problem. Each of us are uniquely skilled to solve a problem, and go for it and be bold about it. I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope I did. And if I haven't fully answered, please ask again.
I might be biased in answering that question. But I think you did. Thank you, Seun. One thing that I took away from that was, as much as we want to be bold and we want to be brave, doing something big and doing something good, it's always good to share your ideas with people around you. You know, family, they say, is everything, and no man really is an island. And it's also something that I take away from what Ireayo had said, which is leveraging on relationships. So thank you for that one. Now I'm going to go back to Ireayo. So I know that part of your work at Endeavor is to help, in fact, predominantly that's what you guys do, is to help entrepreneurs scale. And one of the criteria for selecting businesses is for for your selected businesses to be generating, I think, between 500K and $10 million or something around that in annual revenue.
That's
So,
correct.
in your experience, can you tell us how often you see female-led businesses achieving this criteria? And do you think it's a major challenge for women? And if so, what can they do differently?
Okay, so there's so many, should I say, so many angles to this. Yeah, there are women that creating that, generating that kind of, revenue. Maybe not in Nigeria, but they are. But what you find is women are typically less risk adverse, even though they'll perform best on any loan taking or equity, like whatever. You give them money, they'll multiply it. But generally, for you to scale, you need money. So if a woman is not going to go and ask for money, how are you going to scale? One. Two, the access to, like, say, women-led startups receive less than 3% of VC funding globally. Why is that? So then it means that you've got less, like you're not going for the money, but even when you go for the money, you've got a smaller piece of the pie. So it's like a double-edged sword. And then I think that inevitably just limits your ability to scale and to scale quickly. But another thing that you look at is when you're looking at venture capitalists, they want a return on their investment. That's what they want. But you find women do it's almost like heart-led businesses or impact-driven businesses where are you really doubling down on your return on investment? So there are quite a few challenges: access to capital, scaling beyond lifestyle businesses. But you'll see a lot of lifestyle businesses now growing because we're now, there's a lens focusing on lifestyle. The perception that people have of women. So I read somewhere recently, this is where a girl had applied for a job, she got it, she started and said, oh, let me just tell them that, I'm getting married in a couple of weeks, but it's not going to affect my job. And she lost the job because you have the perception that she cannot do it. Okay, if the man was getting married, you have sacked him for the same reason? You wouldn't have. So you have these limiting perceptions in others that, that you have to go and get this. And you have fewer role models and mentors. So when we're having this conversation and Sade is saying she picks her kids up, someone that I know is on the call and sent me a message and said, Ireayo, that's you, because there's nothing. I must drop my kids to school. And it's just a priority for me. And I think it's like ensuring that you move your priorities as and when and how it suits you. But with regards to women scaling, I think, just be aggressive in terms of seeking for funding, be audacious, like Funto mentioned, be audacious and fearless in what you're doing. Men would have 3 out of 10 of it, of what they need to qualify for something, and they will go there boldly, like, I'm going to go and collect this thing, and they will sell it, package it. A woman will have 9.5, me included. I'm still learning it. Is I'll have 9.5, but I'll be so focused on the 0.5 that I don't have that excuse that I'm actually awesome in the 9 or the 9.5 I already got. So these are things that, we need to address. Leveraging networks. So women, you don't want to go and ask, or you don't want to feel like you're too much. Nobody, you need to ask, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to go no. But if you got a yes, then it's going to take you a step further in the direction you want to go in. And then we often don't like visibility, me being one of them. You don't want to be out there. You need to be outside. You need to be shouting about what you're doing. Let the whole wide world know, and then some, because you never know. It's like 8 degrees of getting to where you want to. If you don't speak about it, if you don't shine light on what you're doing, nobody's going to know. And be data driven. So a lot of things that you find, like when you speak to VC, like funds, is like, okay, a woman might not look into, like, she's not financially, she's not financially savvy as she should be. So it's like, you need to go into that. Like, everything's not impact driven. So talk about your numbers as well. Don't be scared. Don't be shy to talk about your numbers. Get it wrong and then learn from it, and then get up and get it right. So I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? It's interesting because even here at Pavestones, right, sometimes we see that when we're conducting interviews, we see that most of the men, when they're applying, they've written their CVs so beautifully. They've packaged themselves so well. And then we interview them. And then when you compare their CVs to their female counterparts, and you're like, sometimes Sheila and I are talking and we're like, but these women are doing better than the men. But look at the way these guys have packaged the CVs, and they're always so
Shouting.
audacious with what they're asking for in
Mhm.
terms of pay compared to the women. It's almost like the women just feel, let me just ask Sha. Let me just ask for the barest minimum. So I totally get that. That is something that is problematic for us as a as a subset of the human race, right? And yeah, I think also the fact that we're not risk savvy is also a challenge. So thank you very much for those few points, Ireayo. I'm sure there are people on this call who have taken away from those. I'm going to go back to you now, Sade. Sade, you serve as the head of public policy, Anglophone West Africa, Meta. As a woman, and given even our culture, right, as Africans, as Nigerians, dealing with individuals at government level, do you believe that by very virtue of the fact that you're a woman, right, there's some level of, I don't want to say resistance, but there's a way that there's a way that you are addressed or your issues are addressed, and perhaps those issues would be addressed differently if you were a man. And if you believe so, how do you manage such resistance? Because I feel like culturally speaking, there's this for women who are in a position of power, and if you compare us to men, the way that we are respected is quite different. So can you just tell us your experience in that regard?
Yes. So, it's actually not something I think about too much. I think I was raised by my parents to like own what I know, own my skill sets, and so I kind of enter these rooms just feeling confident that I'm supposed to be there and I can accomplish what I came to accomplish. And because I have that in my mind, I think it impacts the way I present myself, the aura that I have, the way I carry myself. And I think when we come into spaces like that, it sometimes changes the dynamic that may have been there before. When you come in and you present like you're somebody that's supposed to be there and you have to be listened to, you have to be heard. I think if they were thinking about disrespecting me, they will think again automatically. So then they would be making a conscientious decision to purposely be I don't know the word for it, I guess, be discriminatory. So that's one. I really just don't have a whole lot of experience with being disrespected in the role that I'm in, where I can perceive it being because I am a woman. So either the men are just really good at masking it, or I am
Or you're really just
or,
good at what you do.
yeah, or I'm just doing a good job in exuding the confidence necessary to navigate that space. Um, I will say that sometimes there are things that you have to deal with when it comes to like advances, like, okay, are they being really friendly or, how do I walk that line? So there is not about them not thinking that you're able to do the job. There are other dynamics at play. And so I think, again, with those situations, I always make sure that the conversation is very, very professional. And I make it very clear why I'm there. And I think that helps a lot. The other thing is you can also utilize certain strategies. So say like you're not familiar with someone, you don't know how they'll react to you. You can find out things about the person that you think will resonate with them, or things that they'll be impressed with, or that sort of thing. It's like you're doing your homework. So then you start talking to them, and they just are blown away by the fact that you can have small talk about the fact that they play golf, they like golf or something like that. So you kind of you have to use those skills, those soft skills, to win over your audience, whether they're male or female. And I think that that's really also helped. And there are quite a number of government officials in Nigeria who are supportive of women. And I don't want to I don't want us to forget that and neglect the fact that we actually have some advocates. And there are a number of spaces I'm in, events that I attend, where they're even purposeful of making sure that women are heard, are listened to. They're able to ask questions. We participate equally and that sort of thing. And I appreciate that intentionality that I've been able to see sometimes. So yeah, I don't find it to be as big of an issue in the spaces that I'm dealing with right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Sade. So in summary, know your audience. When you're confident, bias doesn't exist. So those are my takeaways from that. I know that some of our speakers, Sade and Ireayo in particular, have a 4 p.m. Commitment. So I would encourage our listeners to please send in questions. Just put your questions in the chat box if you have any. And very quickly, I would move over to Funto. Funto,
Yep.
apart from being the CEO at 528, you're also the founder of Recalibrate Academy, where you inspire entrepreneurs to become profitable and influential. How do you balance handling these roles with your personal life? And can you tell us what structures other women can put in place to avoid constant burnouts? I know, I believe Sade had kind of spoken in summary about how she balances picking up her children from work and all that. So can you just tell us, especially living in Lagos can be tough. By the time you get into traffic, there's no lights.
I love that question so much, because I think that, I mean, as a woman, you hear that question a lot on the various platforms. How do you balance it? Or how do you balance it? Well, first of all, I always like to start with saying, I think that balancing is a myth. I don't believe in balancing, like you never really get to balance anything. But, I love taking it from what Sade talked about having structures and understanding your priorities per season. I believe that life is lived in season, and in every season of your life, there are certain priorities that you must pay attention to. And once you understand those priorities, then you can know what to delegate in those seasons and what you cannot delegate. So I'm very big on delegating everything that needs to be delegated. Big on, if I need to have 2 nannies, 2 maids, a driver, a chef, everything, so that there are times when I stopped driving in Lagos like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, because I realized that I was just giving myself unnecessary stress. So if I don't like driving, first of all, then now driving in Lagos, okay, what's the solution? Okay, get a driver, all right? Getting a driver, I can sleep in the car while, I'm being driven. I can get some work done. I can do so many other things while I'm in commute, right? So delegating everything that needs to be delegated. And thankfully, and then when it comes to the home front as well, if I need to have it, just about recently, I realized that I don't enjoy cooking, right? And thankfully, my husband is not particular about me cooking his food. So I had to I had to negotiate with my husband, like, okay, babe, I don't like cooking. Yes, I want to really cook your food sometime, but can we consider, it took me 3 months to get him to accept that, okay, let's get a chef. But I did that. That was really, was really good for me. And then on the work front, being able to, not micromanage people. So that's where hiring right comes in place. When you're sure that, you've gotten the hiring correctly, then allow people do their job. If I'm having to micromanage you, then I don't need you. Right. If I'm having to, correct a lot of times, then I probably, you don't fit into the standard of our culture, right? So I allow people do their job. I delegate almost everything that I can delegate and just oversee what's being done. So putting those structures in place, having those systems, to support and just understanding seasons. So there are some seasons where my family will take the forefront. That's fine. There are some seasons where motherhood will take the forefront. That's also fine. Embracing, the totality of who I am as a woman. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a businesswoman, I'm all of that. And knowing that I don't have to always put a front of, because I'm a businesswoman, I have to be serious. So there are sometimes I don't want to be any of these things. I just want to be a baby girl and live my life, right? And that's also fine. So for me, I'll just say one, understanding the seasons that you're in, to putting structures to support your priorities for those seasons, right? And, not letting culture define. I remember I got my first, I'll just wrap up by saying I got my first maid way before I had my first child, maybe 2-3 months into my marriage. And I remember, someone sending me a message about why do I even need a maid? I'm not even yet, I don't even have kids. I'm like, first of all, I'm working on my second book. All the times I'm going to use to wash clothes, do kitchen runs, do market runs, I can pour that time into writing my book, right? So just understanding. And I didn't allow the person's comment or whatever gets to me. Lots of times women, we allow people's comment, but they don't even know your life. They don't even they don't understand the totality of your life or your goals or your aspirations. And so they just project, they project their biases on you, and it's so easy for us to take it on. So don't allow anybody project their biases on you. Do what you know is right for you, for your family, for your career, for your ambition. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Funto. It sounds like you're really living the life.
I love it.
Baby girl life. So bottom line, delegate. We all should learn to delegate. I think I have that problem personally, quite frankly. So yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
There was a question that came up in the Q&A that was directed to me that I'd like to answer, if that's okay.
Yes.
It's basically talking about how to have confidence, especially dealing with imposter syndrome. I don't think imposter syndrome ever goes away. Like I every time I enter a new role, even at my current job or ones that I've had in the past, I've had dealt with this feeling like, am I supposed to be here? Oh my gosh, I don't know this, I don't know that. People here seem like they just know everything, and you start to get worried until you realize that everybody is just human. Everybody is just trying to figure things out. And if you got to that space, you're meant to be there and you can actually do the work. And I think once we tell ourselves that helps. The other thing that builds confidence is extreme preparation. So when you have spent a lot of time actually learning something or preparing for something in advance, you're more able to walk out in confidence. It's like if you play basketball and you never practice, you're going to be really, really scared when you get on the basketball court. But if you've been practicing for a long time and you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, and you can navigate, you're going to actually walk onto that basketball court with more confidence. It's the same way for our profession. And whether it's meetings or projects or taking on new roles, the more that you prepare yourself, the more that you get the skills that are necessary to do it, the more likely you are to have that confidence when you enter those spaces.
Thank you, Sade. Thank you very much. I know you said you have to leave, so please just feel free to log off when you're ready. But yeah, I see that there are quite a number of questions waiting to be answered. But I'm going to very quickly go over to Seun. Seun, you work in a very saturated sector, right? I know that every year thousands of lawyers graduate from law school. I know that every year you hear about hundreds of law firms being set up, being established. How do you distinguish yourself from others? And how do you think that the younger generation of female lawyers can learn from this?
Thank you. Thank you, Ronke, for that question. So how I personally have distinguished myself. Firstly, as Sade has just said, it's about knowing your onions. And for me, being a person who delivers quality with whatever is given to me, my legal services, whatever work I do, it has to be quality work. I've always had this mantra of, if my stamp is on it, it has to be good enough. It has to, even years from when I've left the organization I worked in before, I have my signature on some documents. It has to speak well of me even after the place, leaving that place. And how I built capacity was also from my experience working in places and really immersing myself in the work and learning from my mistakes, owning my work. So once I started Pavestones, quality first. Once we started, people could trust us that what they will get will be quality work. Then now resilience also, being a person who can withstand challenges and still keep standing is another way that you distinguish yourself, because life would throw some oranges or lemons at you. Challenges will come, but can you stand? Can you withstand the challenge? Are you resilient enough? This is a skill set I also learned from my past. I have dealt with workplace bullies. I've dealt with difficult office politics, and I learned how to be tough and not give up and not let people push me out of what belongs to me. And so even when you're going through life, even in workplaces and you're going through certain challenges, when you learn how to maneuver and get out of it, it prepares you for your next level of leadership. I always say to people that Obama did not become Obama by having it easy. You don't get to presidency and top levels by having everything just and people just singing for you and red roses, petals on the floor. No, you fought some battles and now you've learned to do it, fight and smile at it. I can smile and tell someone to please leave my front. So I have learned to be resilient. Then boldness, I think Ireayo talked about that, and it being bold. Look, a lot of people are skilled to do many things, but they are not bold enough to take on the challenge. So I'm skilled, but I'm also bold enough to step into uncharted territories, to put myself, sometimes I'm putting myself out there. I just had a call before they're saying, yes, I want to do that, something big. And in my heart, the guy is like, oh, I'm going to go and find out if you can do it. In my heart, I'm like, yes, I can do it. People never know what's going on within, but just be bold, go, because I'm not going to fall off the stage. I know, do it, do it. Like, so, and then be solution oriented. Keep thinking about, as I said earlier, sitting as an in-house lawyer, I get that privilege of having sat as a client also to lawyers. Not many people have had that experience. So I know from my own experience what pain points that I didn't like. So I understand when I'm dealing with clients, what they wouldn't like and what we need to not do. So whenever your life journey, as you go through life, you will, certain things, your experiences are kind of helping you become who you're to be. And when you see situations, when you have certain thoughts in your mind, like, why is it like that? Press in. You know, some people, even when the lawyers are reviewing contracts, I say to them, but you saw that, like, you saw that was, but you left it. Like, if something is uncomfortable, press in and question it. And then see if you are the answer. Perhaps other people are not seeing that there's an issue there and you have that secret sauce to solve the problem. So yes, I encourage younger lawyers to be bold, be a person of excellence and quality. And that means you can't just drop things and say, oh, I can't, and just give up. Try and learn and take on the challenges and push. Then be solution oriented. Keep trying to see what, especially in the world we're in with AI and all that, there's so many things. Today's world is not what is going to be tomorrow. And if you want to just say, this is how things are to be done, and you keep doing it, you become history like Kodak. Or you have to keep seeing the issues and keep trying to solve the problems. And with that, you would stand tall and excel in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Seun. So we're going to extend this session by a few minutes, just a few minutes. And before I ask the speakers the last set of questions, Seun, there's a question for you here. And actually, there are a few questions for you, but I'm going to allow you to take one. There's a question around what you looked out for in arriving at a partnership or something like that. I'm not going to let you answer that. I'm going to move on to the next. So the question is that I would like you to answer is, how do you avoid micromanaging people?
Avoid micromanaging. Although the partnership, even you can answer it.
So let's just move on.
We're looking for people of excellence. We share the same view. We share the same mindset towards law. We both wanted to make a difference, and we found ourselves, and we're both driven. But in terms of micromanaging, what was that question again?
How do you avoid micromanaging people? I feel like this person is anonymous, but I guess this person knows you. So ask me this question.
How do I avoid micromanaging people?
Yes.
I think it was Funto that said that also. Firstly, I like to build people. I like to build. That's what drove me into starting. I want to build organizations. I want to build people. I want to build leaders. And the only way you can build people is to give them the tools and step away and let them do it, and also sometimes make mistakes. I wouldn't say I'm the best with mistakes, and I'm sorry to everybody. Sometimes I can be, but but I try to teach people. So everyone who works with me knows that I wouldn't take the work from you. You will sit with me in the office and we will talk about it. And I would ask you why and why you did that and why, because I want you to think. And we would think and think until you come into your independent analysis and judgment on why you did that and the best way to go around it. So teach people, and also give them room to make some mistakes and be gracious about it. But one thing we have been privileged to have at Pavestones, and between Ronke and I, is that we know that everyone who has come through us never stays the same. They become a higher version of themselves. In fact, if you're not a better version of yourself in a few months, we're going to wonder something is not right here. People learn on those because we teach them and they grow, and then we let them run with it. So don't hold people too much. Teach them and give them room to learn and run with things. That's my own advice. Thanks.
Thank you, Seun. So we have 4 minutes until the end of this session, and I'm going to ask each speaker to please share with us, because for me, this is actually a question that I struggle to answer. I feel like every year there's, International Women's Month, International Women's Day, we take a picture, you do like this, you know, all the signs, all the symbols, you go for events. But I would like to ask each speaker to please tell us, and I'll start with Sade, in very few words, what does International Women's Month mean to you? What does accelerate action mean to you in the context of this month's celebration? So please, over to you, Sade.
Sure. It means just remembering the strengths that we have as women and empowering one another to be our best selves. Accelerating action is, how do I give the next woman the ability and the confidence and the platform be able to showcase what she already does well. And so that's all it is for me. And it doesn't have to be 1 day or 1 month. We should all be looking at how to do that in every chance that we get, putting other women forward, reminding folks of the talented women that we have. I'm going to Ghana soon to participate in an AI summit. And they were looking for women, like intentionally looking for women to participate in some of the discussions. And, we have to take those opportunities, one, say yes, but then also recommend other people who can be a part of it, whether it's a project or it's a case or, it's whatever opportunity. That's what it means to me.
Thank you, Sade.
Thank you so much.
Basically, building community, helping the next woman rise up in their career, in whatever it is that they want to achieve. So thank you very much for that. Funto, what does accelerate action mean to you in the context of International Women's Month?
Okay, I think for me, accelerate action would mean that we should stop waiting for permission to take action. Stop waiting for permission to do the things that you know that are burning in your heart. Like, nobody is coming to give you anything on a platter. Just like take the action, make the move, and do it boldly. I think that, Ireayo Media had spoken about that earlier, and even you yourself, Aderonke, about how, when you're interviewing or, men always come very well prepared, very well packaged, even more packaged than what they actually really have, right? And I think that it's time for women to stop waiting for anybody to give us permission and just take the action to doing what's burning in our hearts. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Funto. Succeed without permission. Bottom line. Okay, so Seun, tell us, what does accelerate action mean to you?
For me, I feel everyone has talked about what it means to them. And for me, I feel as what I want to say what it should mean to every woman. And to every woman, I want you to just go with the phrase, go for gold. Go and out there and win. Be bold, be intentional. If you need to find counselors to guide you, do it. But how can I say, quit the excuses? There are many reasons why we might feel limited. Even culture already kind of tells women you should only go this far and don't do, but try and push against the grain. There's so much out there that each woman can become, and there's nothing like a financially independent woman. And please, can I just also say that the more we women go out there and become better versions of ourselves and financially independent, it's also an indirect fight against abuse of women, because the way more women become bolder, the more they can stop certain things. Like human nature is prey-predator relationship. And sometimes this culture of dependency, men waiting for men to do everything, it makes a woman a prey, a victim. And the more we can inspire more women to go out there and become their best version and also become financially independent, you're also helping fight against abuse against women. So please take this as a charge to go for gold and become your best version, the best version of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Seun. Ireayo, few seconds.
So I would say accelerate action, like you mentioned, is going beyond conversations and action. What are you actually doing? And I think a lot of us just continue to be the best version of who you are and then giving access. So is it accelerate access, accelerate policy advocacy for women, accelerate access to finance, inclusion? Just do it. I think true progress comes when you actually take action, you do at speed and do at scale, is what I was saying.
Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this session. Sade, Funto, Ireayo, and Seun, thank you once again for this very revealing conversations. And to our audience, thank you. I know that some of you had a number of questions that just couldn't be answered, but I guess we'll have many more of these conversations from time to time. So thank you. Thank you all for joining and have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great moderation.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Bye, everyone.